All right, so here we have notes for 6-6, percent error. And percent error is going to be super simple because it's just like percent change. It's just talking about percent error instead of the change. So percent error is just the ratio, again. Ratio is just that comparison. And again, we write those as fractions because we're on our way to being adults. So it's the ratio comparing the amount of error, how wrong something is, how off it is, the amount of error. And this is just the difference between the change. You know, instead of change, we're doing the amount of error in an estimate to the actual amount. So that's how an estimate works, right? In an estimate, you take an educated guess. You're not going to be 100% right. Maybe once in a, couple times you will be, but you're going to have some error involved in your estimate. So your formula for percent error that we're going to be looking at, your percent error formula, percent error, it's very, very similar to percent change, naturally, because these are very similar lessons. Instead of, percent change was new minus original. Percent error is going to be estimate minus actual divided by actual times 100. So our new took the place of the estimate, and our actual is taking the place of the original number from our percent change formula. When you're working with percent error, there are going to be three possible situations of error, three possible things that you could run into. The first one of those could possibly be having 0% error. And if you have 0% error, that simply just means that your estimate was exactly correct. You were spot on. Woohoo! Good job. You didn't have any error. You guessed exactly right. You would win the jelly beans. The other possible situation, instead of getting a 0% error, you could get a negative percent error, just like we did with our percent change. And a percent change negative meant that it was a decrease. In this situation, if you have a negative percent error, that means that you underestimated, that your guess was too low. Your guess was too low. And finally, by process of elimination, the third possible situation you might run into is if you have a positive percent error. And this is what's known as an overestimate, where your guess was too high. And there's certain situations where it's better to overestimate or better to underestimate, depending on what you're talking about, right? All right, so we'll take a look at some examples in our next one.